Democracy is celebrated as a system of governance that ensures freedom, equality, and the voice of the people. It is a government of the people, by the people, for the people, as famously articulated by Abraham Lincoln. The fragility of democratic institutions. Democratic institutions, while designed to be resilient, can be fragile. They rely on a delicate balance of power among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. This balance is maintained through a system of checks and balances, where each branch has the power to limit the actions of the others. However, this system can be undermined. Erosion of checks and balances. When one branch, often the executive, begins to accumulate more power, it can weaken the other branches. This accumulation of power may occur through legal means, such as amendments to the Constitution or the passing of new laws, or through illegal means, such as corruption and manipulation. Weak institutions. In many nascent democracies, institutions are not well established. They may lack the necessary autonomy and authority to check the power of the executive. This can lead to an imbalance that favors autocratic rule. Populism and demagoguery. Populism is a political approach that seeks to appeal to the interests and conceptions of the general population, often by contrasting these with the elite. While populism can be a democratic tool, it can also pave the way for dictatorship. Charismatic leaders. Populist leaders often possess charisma and a compelling narrative. They position themselves as the voice of the people against a corrupt elite. This can lead to a cult of personality, where the leader's authority becomes unchallenged. Exploitation of economic hardships. Economic crises create fertile ground for populist rhetoric. Leaders promise simple solutions to complex problems, gaining mass support. Once in power, they may erode democratic norms and institutions to retain control. Manipulation of electoral systems. Elections are the cornerstone of democracy, but their manipulation can undermine democratic principles. Gerrymandering and electoral fraud. Manipulating electoral districts, known as gerrymandering, and engaging in electoral fraud can skew results in favor of a particular party or leader, undermining true democratic representation. Control of media and information. Controlling the flow of information can influence public opinion and voting behavior. State-controlled media and suppression of dissenting voices ensure that the ruling party or leader maintains a favorable image. Political polarization. Intense political polarization can weaken democratic systems and pave the way for authoritarianism. When political discourse becomes highly polarized, it often leads to an us versus them mentality. This can result in the dehumanization of political opponents and justify extreme measures against them. Democracy relies on compromise and consensus. Extreme polarization undermines this, making it difficult to achieve political stability. In such a climate, strongman tactics and authoritarian measures may be seen as necessary to restore order. Security and fear. Fear, whether from external threats or internal instability, can lead citizens to sacrifice democratic freedoms for security. Governments may use the threat of terrorism or external enemies to justify the erosion of civil liberties and the concentration of power. Civil unrest and violence can also prompt citizens to accept authoritarian measures as a means to restore peace and security. Historical examples. Several historical examples illustrate the transition from democracy to dictatorship. The Weimar Republic to Nazi Germany. The Weimar Republic faced economic hardship, political instability, and intense polarization. Hitler used democratic processes to gain power and then dismantled democratic institutions to establish a dictatorship. Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, was elected democratically and initially upheld democratic norms. However, over time, he and his successor, Nicolás Maduro, concentrated power, suppressed opposition, and undermined democratic institutions. The role of international influence. International actors can also play a role in the transition from democracy to dictatorship. Foreign interference. Foreign governments may support authoritarian leaders for strategic or economic reasons, undermining democratic processes. Global economic systems. The pressures of global economic systems and institutions can exacerbate domestic economic crises, providing fertile ground for authoritarianism. Preventive measures. Understanding the pathways from democracy to dictatorship allows for the identification of preventive measures. Strengthening institutions. Ensuring the independence and robustness of democratic institutions is crucial. This includes a free press, an independent judiciary, and transparent electoral processes. Promoting political literacy. Educating citizens about their rights and the importance of democratic norms can empower them to resist authoritarian tendencies. Addressing economic inequality, reducing economic disparities, can mitigate the appeal of populist and authoritarian solutions. While democracy is designed to empower the people, it is not immune to the threats of dictatorship. The erosion of democratic institutions, the rise of populism, electoral manipulation, political polarization, and the exploitation of fear can all contribute to this transition. Historical examples provide stark reminders of how quickly democracy can be undermined. By recognizing these threats and implementing preventive measures, it is possible to protect democratic systems and ensure they remain resilient against the forces that seek to subvert them.